Good morning, everyone. This is April and Cindy. We're the Travel Collective, and we're bringing to you another selection of amazing tours and travel opportunities here live. So today we've got Mark and Nora. So if you'll please introduce yourself and share your name, where you're coming from, and what tour you're highlighting today.
I'm going to start with Mark.
All right. My name is Mark Aspiazu. I'm with New Orleans Secrets Tours. As the name implies, we do tours, walking tours here in New Orleans. The tour we're going to talk about today for me is my history and cocktail tour. It's a history of the American cocktail, where it all started, what a cocktail really is, and it blends together really nicely with the history of the French Quarter.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And Nora, what are you going to share? Which one of your tours are you sharing with us today?
So I am Nora from Animal Experience International, and I am going to share Expedition Guatemala. It is us going to a beautiful wildlife center in Guatemala and helping with the wildlife rehabilitation of the animals down there. I see my camera has stopped working again. Wonderful. Well, what it is it's feeding, cleaning, enrichment of the local wildlife. It's animals that have been confiscated from animal traffickers that will get to go back, be released into the jungle again. So it is
very cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, you might try like turning your camera on and off maybe, or something like that. Go ahead and Nora, I'll ask Mark a question and then we'll come back to you. And even if you don't come back on video, we still want to hear you. So just stay and
we'll stay
for a few minutes. Yeah.
Right. And answer the questions. And if people want to reach out, if you're here joining us live, drop your comments and questions into the feed and we'll get those answered.
Right. So I know we're doing New Orleans and Guatemala, it sounds like. So Mark, can you tell us just a little bit about New Orleans and, where it is that we're coming? Just, we wanted to just get a feel for the location. There she is. And we'll come back to Nora about her Guatemala location. So we're doing New Orleans, right? So if it's a cocktail tour, is that downtown in the French Quarter? Give us a little location.
Sure. So it's in the French Quarter. So it's a French Quarter walking tour. So a lot of people that come to New Orleans or they're planning a trip to New Orleans think that all of Louisiana is New Orleans. And so this is one neighborhood of a cocktail tour. So we've had a couple of different neighborhoods that we did cocktail tours in. It's just the French Quarter, of course, is the most famous one. And
right.
So we focus on the cocktail of the French Quarter itself.
Right. And that's really walkable too. The whole French Quarter is really.
Oh, sure.
Right?
And nothing is more than a 20-minute walk from end to end.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what's wonderful about New Orleans.
I know.
So, Nora, tell us about where your trip is going, Guatemala.
Yeah, so we are in a small town called Flores, Guatemala. It is in the northern highlands. The amazing part of it is you are in the jungle where animals like to be, but you're also on the side of like quite a big lake. And then by that lake is a island town called Flores. And so it is magical and amazing because during the day we will be working with the animals, feeding, cleaning, enrichment. The vets will be doing the medical care. We're doing all of the, I would say easy, but also fun care. Cutting up bananas for orphaned howler monkeys is fun and adorable. And then in the evenings, we'll go into Flores, have a cerveza. And then we also have a trip to Tikal National Park, which is one of the largest ongoing archaeological digs and also contemporarily very important for the Mayan people. And so we get to see these huge, amazing pyramids, beautiful archaeology and architecture. And then also we get to see my camera is being silly again. Yeah. I don't know what is going on. But we also get to see animals that have been released again, which is amazing. So not just seeing the animals in treatment, also seeing animals that are happy to be away from people, living their life in the wild jungle.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Mark. We're having all kinds of technical challenges this morning. So hopefully he joins back in, Nora. That sounds amazing. So where in Guatemala? Guatemala is Central America, right? And so you said that it's an island. Is it on the east coast side of Guatemala? Like which side of? I'm going to look it up just to see.
Yeah, so oh, there we are. Sure. I think some of those Norland ghosts got to us.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah.
This has never happened.
No.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so it's inland, and it is they do have an airport there, making it really easy. So you fly into Flores Airport
Okay.
from either Guatemala City or Belize City. So you don't really see the coast. You are inland in the jungle. But yeah, I'll just say in the jungle a whole bunch more, because you do live like Swiss Family Robinson. Our volunteer accommodation is right at the center, making it really easy for volunteers and making it easy for us as the volunteer wranglers. But we eat in sort of an open air kitchen area. We live where there's beautiful parrots and toucans that are flying over. And yeah, it's just, when you're thinking of like the neo-tropical jungle, when you're thinking of Latin America, this is where we're staying, which is so amazing.
That sounds amazing. And I did just spot it on the map, so that helps me because it's in line with Belize, and I see now where it is in Guatemala. So it is definitely inland. So that helps a little bit. So glad to have you back, Mark. And I will change your name again in just a moment. Give me a second.
Yeah.
But let's ask our next question. We had a question of what's the big highlight, right, April?
Yeah,
Right?
one cool thing. I know there's lots in New Orleans, so
On their tour, what's the one or two cool things that people are going to look forward to seeing or experiencing? Maybe that's the better word. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were still talking to Nora. So we're going to learn all kinds of history. Gosh, the most important cocktail of the French Quarter is the Sazerac, and it's one of our highlights. If you've never heard of it, it's a very boozy, very strong rye whiskey drink, but it's also the first like named American cocktail. So we're very proud of it. It's the official cocktail of New Orleans.
Oh, the Sazerac. Oh, that's cool. I love that. That's a good drink. And it's a rye cocktail.
Definitely potent.
Very
Well,
potent.
it's good to be walking then. That's what I'm saying.
Well, in New Orleans, we get our drinks to go. We have go cups. We're allowed to walk on the street with alcohol. So
That's right.
That's
I forgot
right.
about that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there.
You
So I
can-
guess we can ask you the next question too, Mark, since Nora's gotten to share a lot so far. How long is your particular walking tour, this one that you're highlighting today?
So it's a 3-hour tour, and often go over those 3 hours because just having such a good time. And also, I always want to make sure that people understand it's not a pub crawl. That's easy enough to do. And we never go to Bourbon Street, which is the centermost street of the French Quarter. So a lot of people, they get this idea that, oh, you're doing a pub crawl down Bourbon, no big deal. Well, no, it's not that at all. It's definitely a history tour. And we talk about the history of the French Quarter and how it blends with the history of the American cocktail. And we talk about the classics, the classic cocktails versus some of the craft cocktails. And we go from place to place. So it's very history intense. We like to say it's history over happy hour. So it's definitely not just a pub crawl where you go from place to place to get drunk. But because it's history over happy hour, we go from place to place. Everyone gets the drink. Some people don't have to. The price of the tour does not include the price of the drink. So you can choose to drink or share or not, or skip one or get something else. It's totally up to you. But because of that, for the most part, people do get quite tipsy on the tour from stop to stop because they want to taste all these different drinks, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the tour guide cannot drink. It is illegal for a tour guide to drink on tour in New Orleans. So you have a safe environment with your guide, bringing you from place to place throughout the quarter. But like I said, typically it goes over 3 hours. It's because we're having a really good time. Because if I'm going over 3 hours, I'm bringing it to my private little places that I personally love, my little secrets here and there. Our tours max out at 8 people. That's a sold out tour for us. So it's really small and intimate. And so because of that, I get to, if we're having a good time, if I have a good group and they're having a blast, I'll bring you to some of my little private hideaways that are typically really tiny, and they serve a particular drink, let's say, some amazing drinks. And then, so it goes over 3 hours for that because we're just having too much fun. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to drink in New Orleans, is having somebody lead you around to all the places, because there's so many places you can get
Yeah.
distracted, right, by shiny things. And like, I want to go in here, and it would be, I mean, I would love that, Mark. I've been to New Orleans several times, but have somebody actually take me to their local spots or the places that
Yeah.
they know, right? This is
Yeah.
a great place. Yeah.
But you see the shiny object and it goes, oh, let's go into that place. But the guy then steps in and says, but what you didn't know about this place is something happened here back in 1790s, and this is what happened here, and then people are like, wow, I had no idea. Which is why we love it when locals take the tour,
Right.
Yeah. When a local takes the tour, it's just put this way, it's rare to see a New Orleanian on one of my tours. But when it happens, it's magical. Because I was that local that just took a chance one day, and I just fell in love with New Orleans all over. And locals, believe it or not, know less about New Orleans than the tourists, because typically tourists will educate themselves,
right,
and learn as much as they can about where they're going. But the local doesn't. It's in their backyard. They take it for granted often.
Right. Oh, I love that, Mark, because that you still have that passion for learning more about a place that you've fallen in love with. I really can relate to that.
I remember the day I took my first cocktail tour as a tourist here in New Orleans, but I wasn't a tourist, I was a local. And I was just so blown out the water that I took that same tour like 8 more times on my own, because I loved it so much. It was just so much fun. And the history itself just blew my mind. And then the drinks on top of it. And it becomes a moment, it becomes an experience, and that's what I try to provide for my guests is a moment, an experience, an emotional reaction to the French Quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool that you have some of that history of the Sazerac and everything. It's not just the building you can share the history, but there's history with the cocktails that you're drinking, and maybe even with the liquor that you're drinking, right? Like this was actually distilled here. So there's all kinds of history in New Orleans with that, just not just the buildings and the place that you're standing, right? There's more history to be shared.
There's everything under the sun, which is our little book, the Secret, which goes into a whole bunch of these little vignettes of things that happen in New Orleans, or places or things that locals don't even know about, but much less tourists. So it was a lot of fun doing the book too, for that reason.
That's
just
amazing.
Opening our eyes.
So Nora, I see you're still not back on video, but that's all right. Do you want to tell us a highlight or two? You gave us quite a bit of stuff on your trip, but what's one of the big highlights when we take your trip that somebody will see or experience?
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely still here. I would say the biggest highlight is you get to see my face, which you can't see right now. So you're welcome. So this trip is going to be really special. So I have been to this center 4 times, but my business partner, Dr. Heather Reed, who's a wildlife veterinarian in Canada, she hasn't been there yet. She has worked as a wildlife veterinarian for more than 20 years up in Toronto Wildlife Center. And so I think it's just going to be so special to have a wildlife vet hang out with our Guatemalan wildlife veterinarians. And then also just the real hands-on access that you get, I think, is so special, because we go down there as a team that maybe doesn't have a lot of experience with animals, and the work that we're going to be doing isn't anything professional. So people go, oh, I've always been interested in toucans or monkeys or anteaters, but I could never work with them because I never have. How would you? And the really great thing is we're working on these teams that's never alone. And so when you're volunteering, like I took my mom down in 2019, and she's never met a toucan. And on the very first day, the volunteer coordinator was like, okay, you're on toucan duty. And she was like, what? And then, for the rest of the time, we had lots of different animals. But every morning, my mom was like, can I work with the toucans again? I think it's just so amazing. All of our programs they're safe, they're ethical, they are authentically helping the animals. And so when someone does love animals, I think one of the questions is like, is it ethical? Are we actually helping them? Can we really understand if we're doing good? And because we have been working with this center since AEI started we started in 2011, but then 2012, we started sending people to the center. We can really see how we have been helping the animals, and how it isn't just sitting on a beach with, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not just sitting on a beach and giving tourist money. It's, getting your hands dirty and coming back with these stories of, meeting a coati and finding out what a coati is, and then meeting one, or a tambandua. And then, like I said, our trip to Tikal National Park is also so special. We have, Mark talked about local guides, and we have guides who all have some background in archaeology. They're all Guatemalan, and then many of them, if not our Mayan people, have friends who are Mayans, and so
that's
have
nice.
this, right? It's so beautiful to have this experience of people who say, this is what it looked like in the time that people were living in Tikal, but this is what it looks like now, and this is why it's still sacred, and why we're still coming as Mayan people and having ceremony here. I think, if you love animals, it's an amazing place to go, but if you're interested in culture, it's also an amazing place to go.
That sounds great. You gave us more than one highlight. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, Nora. That's so wonderful. And I mentioned this before when we talked to you, there's so much great energy there. So Nora, thank you for sharing all of that about your trip. What is I'm sorry, I'm not looking at our questions. April, do you have the next question?
Yeah, well,
Nora, Mark.
I just need to ask Nora really quick how long the trip is quickly.
Oh, right. It's 7 days, so it's from June 11th until the 18th. So we're real soft launch into travel.
Okay, all right, great. Anything, Mark, that we should know before we go on your walking tour? Anything that would be advisable if I'm new to New Orleans?
Yeah, definitely get in touch with us. That a lot of people don't do it enough. They just sign up, they just show up, and it's like, oh, you could have called us ahead of time, and we could have talked you through where the hotel is and what are the best restaurants around it and how to get our location. Also come dressed for the weather, depending on what time of the year you come. My preference is spring and fall, so October and March, April. But if it's gonna be outside of those, definitely look at that weather a week ahead of time and come dressed for it, especially for rain. You never know when it's gonna pop up. Like, for example, we're getting scattered showers. Definitely bring some rain gear with you regardless of when you come to New Orleans. So
yeah, because it can literally just break out into rain in New Orleans any time of the day or night.
Yeah, and you should be prepared for that. But if you're on my cocktail tour, it doesn't really matter as much because we're going inside different places. So we're protected from the weather a lot. And then we go out, and then we go in, and then we go out. And by the third or fourth time we go in and out again, you just don't care.
and maybe some good walking shoes. I can't remember if some of the streets have uneven pavement.
Gosh. You're so right. It breaks my heart when I see a young lady with like high heels in the French Quarter. I'm like, oh, you're gonna break your ankle. It's coming, because our sidewalks are so broken up a lot of time. And then other streets have the cobblestones. Right. And even if you have walking shoes, you need to be really careful.
Yeah, it is scary. Yeah, because the uneven pavement. So absolutely, I wouldn't wear heels unless there's some reason that you must, because it'll be dangerous for everybody involved.
But we see it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're on a walking tour, right, in any kind of walking tour, you just want to put on comfortable shoes because you don't know how far you're going, and especially if you're having cocktails, you don't want to have to stumble too much. So that's a
please don't stumble. No.
Yeah.
We have some great restaurants that people like to get really dressed up for and things. So after touring, etc. So if you're going to do that, definitely be careful. It can harrowing out there when it comes to those sidewalks and streets.
Yeah. And so Nora, same question for you. Is there anything folks need to be prepared for, or anything they should be bringing before they come on a trip with you?
Yeah, I would say, because we're living in the jungle, do bring a bug net, like a mosquito net for your bed, which feels like a real adventure when you get to like tuck yourself in. We don't see malaria, dengue, Zika, things like that in the area, but you are in the tropics and there are creepy crawlies, and who wants to be bitten by mosquitoes? So there's nothing that we say that you need to bring other than that. But yeah, good walking shoes. Anytime you travel anywhere, just have some shoes that you're not going to hate by the end of the day. Mark, I was also going to say, I'm going to go off script for 1 second and say my very first trip to help animals was actually to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. So AEI wouldn't exist if I didn't go to New Orleans a few years ago. So it's serendipitous that we're talking today.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of business plans are made after a good Sazerac. No, but
that is really cool. I'm glad that connection happened, Nora.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That is really cool.
Mark, you mentioned about doing things before and after. What are some things that we could add on to your trip? Are there tours that you might recommend stringing together that you offer? Or
yeah, so some people will do that. They'll book maybe a couple of different tours in one day. I'm not so sure I advise that. A lot of times at the end of one tour, you're dead. You're tired, and you want to just go take some time to explore. So my recommendation is just do a tour in a day, or if you're going to do more than one, leave yourself some time to relax between the two. But we have a lot of different tours. The French Quarter History Cocktail is just one of our many different ones. We have a ghost walk at night. We have the Garden District History Architecture Tour during the day in the morning. We have a French Quarter walking tour in the morning. But our other favorite, the one that we're mostly known for, is the cocktail one, yes, and of course our Magazine Street foodie tour. So it's 3 hours of eating different restaurants in on Magazine Street, which is in the Garden District. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of food. It's a lot of history. And that's another thing that people don't realize. You take our foodie tour, we're not just going to feed you. We're also going to tell you the history of what you're eating. Why is a po' boy called a po' boy? Why is Magazine Street called Magazine Street? Why is the Garden District called the Garden District? So we go over a lot of the history, and then we go eat it at 5 different places. So it's a lot of food.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to come and take them all. I need a 7-day tour to New Orleans to take all of them.
And that's probably my biggest advice for people is to make sure, if you're going to take any of our tours, do it first.
Okay.
Often I have people on my foodie tour or my cocktail tour, and at the end, they're like, why did we do this at the end? We're leaving tomorrow. Oh, they're so upset.
Yeah.
And it's happened. I'm not lying. This is true. This has happened on multiple occasions. I have seen people on the phone calling Southwest and changes to their reservation to at least have one more day to use some of the recommendations that we will give you. So we've got a ton of them, and a lot of them are right around whatever hotel you're staying at. And if this is the last thing you're doing, you'll be really disappointed.
That's actually really good advice. April and I talk about meeting locals and how to connect, with the culture. And we often tell them to take a local tour like yours with somebody who lives in the area, and then just pause at the end of the tour and just pick their brain a bit. Because usually, like you, Mark, they're passionate about the location, and they'll have lots of tips and suggestions. And also, like you, if we called you ahead of time, you'd give us hotel suggestions. So it's a really good person to connect with is the local tour guide there in New Orleans. Reach out to Mark and find out, where to stay, and, just get some advice, because not only are you leading these amazing tours, but you're just, full of knowledge about New Orleans for somebody.
We geek out on it. We definitely geek out on it. So and the other thing is another really good suggestion is I always recommend taking Uber over taxis. I know that could be a little controversial for some, but I'll tell you, by and large, the Uber drivers are all locals that can't wait for you to ask them where's a good gumbo, or where do I go for a good po' boy in the French Quarter. They are full of it, and they can't wait, because they're just like me. All the locals are very proud of the city. We love telling you what we think is the best XYZ. So typically the cabs are pretty concerned with getting you from point A to point B quickly. Uber, on the other hand, often, not every time, but often they really want to get to know you.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I think that's a really good idea for folks. All right.
So Nora, same question. If we wanted to add on to the trip, what are some things people might do before or after joining your tour? Is there a city that they fly into that has, some of those tips?
So Flores is really known as so Cindy, early you said that it's Flores is close to Belize.
Yes.
And that whole area is well known for archaeology of the Mayan people. And so for people who are looking for something a little bit outside of what you normally see in Guatemala, we see a lot of people go to Antigua, Guatemala City in the south, which is beautiful and is just a flight away. You can fly very easily from Flores to Guatemala City. You can take a bus. It's a bit long.
Yeah.
Just hop on a plane. But if you want to stay in the highlands, there are so many different beautiful Mayan areas to visit. And also, there's really incredible tours that you can take with naturalists in the area that you can see all kinds of animals, again, in the wild after we volunteer with them, which is so lovely to get that holistic idea of, I worked with, jaguars and ocelots, and now I get to see where they live and go to the cloud forest. And then there's really amazing tours that we can help you with people, families, aunties, and uncles of people who work at the center.
Oh,
if you're
cool.
interested, yeah, it's really, really amazing because everyone is local, and we say, hey, we're interested in knowing a little bit more about what it looks like to be Mayan today, what it looks like to be in Guatemala today. We can have some tours booked that way of people going to auntie and uncle's houses, also going through the different Mayan centers that are on the border of Belize and Guatemala. It's very easy to get back and forth, and I very much recommend that because just like, in Guatemala, Canada, the US, every city is different. And so every Mayan city will be different, and you'll get quite a lot from a tour and understand why perhaps the king and queen of that area are a little bit different than the other ones in the Mayan times.
Yeah. Oh, I want to go because, and I know there's a number of things there on the Guatemala-Belize border because I visited a few things when I was in Belize a few years ago, but I didn't go all the way into Guatemala. So very excited to hear about more of that. I think we have a couple, and we're running out of time because we're at 8:30. So Mark, let's talk a little bit about how much it costs. Let's talk about that, your tour, and how do people sign up to join? Do they just call? Do you have a website? Let's get that information to folks.
So the cocktail history tour is $35 per person. Once again, the biggest thing that we bring to the table there is that we max out at people. It's a huge deal. By law, you can't be over 28 people. And often a lot of these companies will bring you to 28 people and still call it a small group. So we're very, very small. We're going to private or semi-private, but it's $30 per person up to 8 people. To sign up, easiest way is nosecretstours.com. And then I guess the other easy way, just give us a call. You can go to our website, nosecretstours.com, and just give us a call and we can talk you through it and kind of counsel you on anything you might want to do.
Yeah,
Perfect.
nice.
And we'll put that in the description,
Yes.
Mark, as well. So people who are listening can click on it if they want to. That'll come after this gets done. So same question,
we'll
right?
Yeah.
for Nora, right? How much and how do they sign up, Nora?
Yeah, so you just go to our website, animalexperienceinternational.com. For this one, it's backslash, that's not true, expedition-Guatemala. It is $1,780 Canadian, and the Canadian dollar is not very strong. So that's $14.21 American. So yeah, I see the looks on Americans' faces going, okay. And yeah, that's for the full 7 days with food, accommodation, travel, all the extras in there. And all you have to do is we get you to apply, and the application process is really informal. It's just after you apply, you actually talk with me, and we go on Zoom. My camera presumably works then, and people can ask any questions. I ask questions. We figure out if the program is right for you, or if there's something that is, a little better. It happens every so often that people go, I think this is good, but do you have an offering that helps me? And I go, I've been to all these programs. This one, actually, let me introduce you to this program. So yeah, super simple. It's just an application and then just a good chat to see where we're at.
Yeah, no, I like that, Nora, because you are working with animals and you do want to make sure that in 7 days and it's a lot of money, right? Let's make sure it fits. So I'm glad that you have a formal, semi-formal process to make sure you get the right folks.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like
Right.
both you and Mark encourage folks to just pick up the phone and contact them. And I think that's something people forget when you're booking tours like this. We're so used to just doing it online and not,
Talking to people.
talking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Just actually pick up the phone and you can get a lot from a conversation. You can get that extra great information like from Mark on where to stay and how to get there and all those extra things that could really enhance my trip before I meet Mark. And then I'm like, wait, I don't have enough time to do all these amazing little places he just pointed out that I want to go back to. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We have one person who's asked, Ruth has joined us and she's asking if we organize trips and do we coordinate trips for people to travel together? And I think she's asking that to us, April. April and I, Ruth, actually do organize trips, but this Saturday morning event that we do, we're bringing to you other trip organizers like ourselves who we've met through our experiences, who have similar types of experiences where you can travel with them. We know we can't satisfy everybody's travel needs and we're not going to go everywhere. We cannot replicate what Nora and Mark are doing. So I would want to go on their tours just as much as you would. So we're going to continue to do this on Saturday. We also have a coffee chat, which is after this. And there's some other things we do, Ruth. We can reach out to you separately to let you know about that. But look
Right.
up Nora and Mark. And especially if you're trying to go to one of these, especially if you're going to New Orleans, make sure you call Mark because you're only going to have a good trip if you get connected with somebody who knows the area. So I think that is.
Yeah,
Do you
we'll
have any
add
other
the
questions?
we'll add the show links, and for those of you watching, we have done a couple of these other episodes. Go back and watch. We have other great tours highlighted. We actually interviewed Cindy. I've been interviewed, so we do highlight a wide mix. We want to really
Right.
bring to you, our travelers, everything from wine tasting and camping to photography tours and bicycle tours. I mean, there's just so many great adventures out there, and we want to bring you something that's unique and personal to you. And so you can meet people that are wonderful, like Mark and Nora, that yes, you can go to their website, but it's just not the same when you
No.
meet them in person and see how wonderful and excited they are to share these places and experiences that they love. So please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. And if you want to join our coffee chats, we do those every other Saturday. We have one today. Travelers join us from around the world, and that starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So
Yeah. Okay.
thanks,
Well,
everyone.
thanks, Nora and Mark. You guys were wonderful. I'm so sorry that your video wasn't working,
I
Nora, but you
know.
handled it just perfectly. We just walked right through it. And thank you, Mark, for sharing. I love how contagious your energy
Oh,
is for the
yeah.
places. And it's so, yeah.
My pleasure. Come to New Orleans and see
Yes.
Mark.
Yeah. And so we'll just put all the descriptions and links to you guys' tours in the description for the show. That'll come in just a few minutes and then I can send it out or April can send it out so you can share this also because it'll be there even after this morning. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks,
Thanks
everybody.
so much.